Good morning, Metalheads Unit. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. And today we're looking at the latest album from Motionless In White, entitled Disguise. Oh boy, I think some of you are really gonna fucking hate me after this. Here we go. Motionless In White is an American band that fuses metalcore, gothic metal, industrial, and pop metal into one slick package with a visual aesthetic reminiscent of Marilyn Manson and My Chemical Romance. For these reasons and more, Motionless In White is also a very divisive band, to the point where simply saying their name brings out a lot of very complex and, shall we say, powerful reactions out of people. I mean, they've got fans, an almost cult-like following, if you will. They've done huge tours with Slipknot and Alice Cooper, and they attract big audiences. I even remember 2013 going to the Mayhem Festival in Toronto with Amon Amarth and Mastodon and Machine Head. But because the day before there'd been a bunch of rain, the venue was all flooded, and the day of the show there was a heat rain. So it was muddy, and it was wet, and it was hot, and it was sticky, and it was kind of a gross day, and there weren't a lot of people there because of it. The venue was pretty empty, again, despite those big-name bands. But when Motionless In White came on, I shit you not, there had to be 1,000 fucking goth kids who came out of fucking nowhere just to see this band, and the second Motionless In White was done, they were gone just as fast. Honestly, if you had told me that they had teleported there and back, I would 100% have believed you. On the other side, though, you've got people who don't just dislike this band, they hate this band. They think this band is an insult. They are threatened by the existence of Motionless In White. You want a great example of what I'm talking about? Feel free to take a look at a recent stream from the Underground Metal Gamer, where a fan had the audacity to ask him what he thought of Motionless In White, and he somehow decided that the proper response to that was to basically have a temper tantrum and ask if the fan was fucking retarded. I'm quoting directly there. I think it goes without saying that that is not how I would have responded to that question, and I think it goes without saying that that's not how a lot of people would have responded to that question. But, you know, he's a big, angry metal elitist, and that's what he does. And that's what Motionless In White seems to do to a lot of people. Me, personally, I'm not really a fan. Some of their early records are kind of cool. I like the more aggressive goth metal flavors. But their last album, man, they just did their toes way too far into pop metal, and it ended up sounding really synthetic and really dried out and lame and generic. But I don't actively hate this band. I just don't have the energy even for it. I have heard objectively way worse and way less original material on the Metal Meltdown before. Even so, I was honestly a little terrified to look into this album because I knew I was going to piss somebody off immediately, you know? I mean, again, you've got the hyper-rabid fan base on one hand going, "You don't get it, man. This shit hits hard, man. Gets me through my problems, man. Whatever, stepdad." And on the other side of the coin, you've got the super angry metal elitists who are just like, "Fucking liberal SJW poser. What do you know about metal? You have a ghost poster. What do you know about metal?" Frankly, I think it's safe to say that most people that would watch something like the Metal Meltdown fall into that latter category too, so not so excited to see the comment section after this. There's no point in me really building this up anymore or talking about the band's history anymore. I think I should just get right into it, and we'll deal with the consequences later. So here we go. Disguise is okay. It's actually even kind of decent in some parts. Before you light your torches and grab your pitchforks, please just fucking hear me out, man. Please, calm down. Take a chill pill. Go for a walk if you have to. And then come back and listen to what I have to say. Yes, this album has problems. It frankly even has some of the same problems that the last Motionless In White album has. But it's competently produced, written, and performed. There's actually some pretty interesting influences and ideas. The band is bringing in some of their more extreme ideas from the early albums back into play here and fusing it with some brand new ideas as well. Some of the lyrics on here, they aren't just provocative, they're actually kind of insightful and interesting, and it's a perspective of Motionless In White that we have not seen before. Overall, the album is also a lot more mature. Sure, there is definitely some edgy bullshit, which we will dig into, but all things considered, I actually don't hate this album. Believe it or not, I even found myself kind of banging my head and singing along to some of these songs. Take, for instance, the title track and lead single, Disguise, which has been out for a couple months now, and at first, I didn't like it one bit. But I gotta be honest, it has actually really grown on me. I have even caught myself kind of singing the chorus. It is a genuinely catchy, fun song. The riffs have a nice industrial heft behind them, the chorus is simple but effective, and there's some nu metal kind of effects and influences that come into play that I think are a little interesting, some voice samples to throw you off guard and pump the blood. I continue to find myself jamming along to some of the following tracks, particularly Headache, which has very noticeable influence from nu metal, specifically late 90s, early 2000s Korn. Chris Motionless even emulating some of the vocal tactics of Jonathan Davis without sounding too much like a copycat, retaining just enough of Motionless in White's industrial pop metal flair to make it their own. It's not going to win any awards or anything, but if I had to choose between this one song and pretty much any of Korn's albums from the last 10 years, I'd pick this song. It'd be a very easy choice, actually. And I'm still headbanging on some of the more extreme cuts on the record, Thoughts and Prayers and Undead 2, The Tale of the Midnight Ride. Both of these tracks also, by the way, featuring some of the best lyrics of Motionless in White's entire career, with the former track taking very blunt and poignant shots at conservative and Christian communities and how they often respond to mass tragedies, with lyrics such as, "You love to play the victim, can I get an amen, yet you canonize yourself while you wear this crown of shit," and preying on the violence, you fabricate a script, preaching to fill your pockets, but your God is counterfeit. Like, Motionless in White is really out here talking about gun violence and religious hypocrisy. Never thought I'd see that happen. While the latter track wins points for just being so gruesome and violent, it has this Cradle of Filth level grandiosity to it, but with blunt, grotesque death metal lyrics. Take, for instance, in this passage, "Crimson coagulates, severed head bouquet, body incomplete, sealer of your fate, creatures from the grave, headless and hell-bent for me." Sure, some of the actual music in this track still comes off maybe a little bit corny, but there's nothing wrong with corny. It's an Evil Dead kind of corny. Really, this album's biggest problem is filler. I mean, there's a couple tracks in between all these tracks I've talked about that they're not bad, they're just not very impressive, and they're repeating a lot of the failed ideas from Motionless in White's previous record. But they are still probably better written and performed than anything on the previous record. It's clear that Motionless in White have actually learned a lot from that album. Honestly, the only two tracks on here I actively dislike are probably Broadcasting from Beyond the Grave and Brand New Numb. The former of which I frankly just write off as a Marilyn Manson ripoff. I mean, good news, if your favorite Marilyn Manson song is Mob Scene, then I guess you'll love Broadcasting, but there's not much else to talk about there. Brand New Numb, on the other hand, oh boy, there's actually a lot to talk about in regards to this song. This was also one of the lead singles that came out ahead of time, and this was the one song I heard where I was like, oh, I'm really concerned for what the whole album is going to sound like, because this song is so edgy, it's so cringeworthy even at times, with lyrics like, "I've got a switchblade wit that cuts like a bitch, and I think you two should meet." Oh god! It's so bad. The chorus, too, is hands down one of the edgiest fucking things I've ever heard in my life. It's going on to say, "I've got blood on my hands, no guilt on my conscience, the war in your path, the sex in your violence." That line doesn't even make sense. "All of my flaws, I wear them with honor. A purple heartbreak for all we've suffered." Going on to say, "I am the enemy," pretty much 3 or 4 times, but I'm the enemy. I'm here to save the day. I'll be the enemy. Oh, it's so bad. That line with the Purple Heart, too, really fucking got to me first time I heard it. I mean, like, holy shit. Are you really going to compare your purple heartbreak to people who receive actual Purple Hearts in real life? People who go to war? People who die in war? Like, with all due respect to your edginess and your relationship issues, do not compare at all to the sacrifices of people who have earned Purple Hearts. Fuck off with that lyric. The good news is that song is near the very end of the record, so you can pretty much just snap it off and forget all about it if you want to. And as bad as that song is, once you sit down and do the math and look at the entire album, Disguise still turns out pretty okay. I mean, it's got a couple really good tracks, a couple okay tracks, one Marilyn Manson knockoff, and one fucking garbage song. So all things considered, and as much as this is probably going to piss some people off, I'm honestly going to give this a 3 out of 5. I think overall it actually is a really decent record. It's their most mature record. It's their most engaging and interesting and original record. It's probably the only record in their career that really capitalizes on the metalcore gothic metal fusion that they've been trying to go for all these years now. I doubt it would change your mind if you actively dislike Motionless in White, like I'm sure a lot of you really do. But I don't know what to tell you. I mean, again, even in this album's worst moments with something like Brand New Numb, it's really not bad enough to bring down the entire record. I'm not going to simply write this off as poser music just because it isn't brutal, melodic, technical black metal from Norway recorded on a fucking potato. And on the other side of the coin, if you're someone who actually has enjoyed Motionless in White over the years, then of course you're going to like this album. I don't really see any reason why you wouldn't, unless you somehow really fucking loved the pop metal of their last album and you just want to hear that forever. But in that case, you can just go listen to that album forever, so who cares? Yeah, it's still edgy as flying fuck, especially when you get to that visual aesthetic, and yeah, it's still not my cup of tea. I'd probably never listen to this album again, but I enjoyed it while it was on. I was impressed and intrigued by the songwriting and the concept, and I would have no problem recommending this to somebody who does enjoy metalcore and is looking for something a little funkier, a little spicier, a little edgier even. I know a lot of you were expecting me to rip this album a new asshole, but I don't hate it, okay? I have objectively heard way worse fucking material. In fact, some of you have sent me way worse material. Trevor Burns, cough cough, Hunt the Dinosaur, cough cough. So 3 out of 5. It's decent. Check it out if you like, I guess, but I think it's safe to say if you've clicked on this video, you already have an opinion on this band and this album. So I don't know how many minds I've changed, but hopefully y'all understand where I'm coming from. Now you may grab your pitchforks and your torches if you are so inclined to do so. I won't stop you. It's a free country. You know, you can go ahead and pull an underground metal gamer, call me a fucking retard. I really don't care. I promise you I'm going to sleep just fine tonight. So there you have it. Go ahead, have fun, go nuts. 3 out of 5, a decent record. Shoot me. Whatever, man. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.